Welcome back, everybody, to the Chasing Cashflow podcast. You are listening to episode number 15.
To other people, whenever you build your brand, your business around what you can give to others, it's that, good things will come back to you. And more so than that, like the relationships you build and just the impact that you make can be so much bigger whenever you involve other people.
Welcome back to the Chasing Cashflow podcast. Thank you for tuning in. And if this is your first time listening to this podcast is all about interviewing successful real estate investors and entrepreneurs as they share how they started their business and scaled. Whether you have no properties or 100 properties, listeners can expect to learn actionable steps to grow and sustain their own real estate portfolio. If you haven't already, please make sure to leave a review on this podcast on whatever app you are listening to. It will help tremendously for the Chasing Cashflow podcast. Also, if you haven't followed us on Instagram or YouTube, please make sure to do that at Chasing Cashflow Podcast, where you'll get content all about real estate investing. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Chasing Cashflow podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today's guest has some great information to share. Her story is awesome, and it's funny. There's a story she talks about where she didn't know what an FHA loan was, so when she went to House Hack, she actually had to put 20% down, which, you live and you learn, and she always talks about, jumping full-fledged into real estate, and real estate really being the best teacher there is. Actually, just by taking action, at some point you got to get past the books and take action, which I love. So she is, in the past 2 years, grew to 10 units, her and her boyfriend. They're absolutely killing it. They're kind of switching back and forth between long and midterm and short-term rentals. So they're kind of exploring different options. But for someone just getting into real estate or having their first couple doors, I think this podcast is going to be very valuable because it can kind of tell you which direction you may want to go. And she just has a great story. So with that all being said, let's go jump in right now. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Chasing Cashflow podcast. We have a great guest today, and that scrappy investor, Hannah McCoy. How you doing today, Hannah?
Good. How are you, Evan?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you so much. For those that don't know, we had some technical difficulties on the first interview, but we're back and we're going to make it even better. So thanks again for coming back on.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so great the first time to talk to you. So I'm happy to be back.
Perfect. Well, let's go ahead and just get started as far as, how did you get started in real estate investing? Obviously, you're doing a lot right now. So we're going to get into that. But first off, how'd you get started in real estate investing to begin with?
So I started in February of 2020, before everything happened with the world. I was renting an apartment. I had just graduated nursing school, and I was like, why am I spending $600-700 a month when I could be putting that towards a mortgage? And my boyfriend actually, he recommended, well, why don't you look into buying a duplex so you can rent out one side and they'll pay for your mortgage. You can save extra money. I was like, that's a great idea. So I looked around and I found a duplex within a couple of months. Actually, it was pretty fast. So, yeah.
Wow. So your boyfriend, did he have, prior knowledge? Did he have any investments, anything like that before coming to you and telling you to do it?
He had started a couple years before we met. He had started with a contractor, I believe, and they had started to fix up some houses, but it had kind of gone south and there was a lot of dishonesty going on with the contractor that he was working with. So it ended up falling through, but it hadn't really discouraged him. He just hadn't found any other properties as of yet, but that's kind of where his knowledge had come from about it, and he just wanted to tell me. So
gotcha.
It worked out.
Yeah. That's great. So when he first came to you with this idea, were you skeptical at first at any point, or were you just straight like, hey, this was a great idea?
I was a little skeptical at first. I just never even considered being a landlord. I was like, I don't know how to take care of a house. I just graduated college. I'm just, I like to call somebody and have them fix it. But the way he explained it, he was like, you can still do that. Even if you own a house, you can still call somebody to fix it. You don't have to understand everything about electric, everything about plumbing right off the bat. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And, my dad's always close by to help with things. So I was like, yeah, I think that would be a great idea. And I turned pretty quickly into the idea.
Oh, good. Well, that's awesome. And it sounds like, a couple months after, he came to you with the idea is when you got something under contract with us, which is insane. That's pretty fast. How did you educate yourself a little bit more so that you felt comfortable with it. And then what was your first deal like?
So whenever I'm into something, I get super into it. So I immediately looked up podcasts and started looking into books. I have a hard time reading books for a long time, so I mostly listen to podcasts, and of course found Bigger Pockets. Started listening there and was just super inspired by, especially on the smaller one, the Real Estate Rookie, just how people started out and how they were able to scale. So that's really where I learned most of my real estate stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah. The Real Estate Rookie, I really like that one as well, just because it focuses more on, the beginners, just starting out. And then there is some people on the podcast that have been doing a lot, but it just gives you an idea of, those people that are kind of in your shoes right now, or just a couple steps ahead, and, just seeing that you're not too far behind.
Yeah.
How did that first deal look?
So the first deal, I went to a local bank and I said, so I didn't know anything about FHA. I didn't know, I'm in the military, but I didn't qualify for a VA loan yet. So I went to just a local bank and I said, hey, I want a primary residence that I'm also going to, rent out. What can I do? Well, they told me I can't do FHA, which I know now was not true.
Oh, geez.
But they said, oh, we can just do a conventional loan, but we'll give you a tiny little line of credit as well so that your down payment initially is lower. So I was like, okay, that sounds good. I don't know. So I had a little bit of money saved up and I was just able to use that for my initial down payment. I think it was around $22,000 was what I first put down on that. So definitely not a kick it out of the park, type of FHA, but it ended up working out.
Yeah, so the bank that you went to, which is a local bank, told you basically, no, there's no such thing as FHA. There's no such thing as 3.5% down. You have to put 20% down, and that's it.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah, they're like, oh, no, we don't do that because that's an investment property, so you can't do an FHA.
Oh,
which I forget who I was listening to. One of the podcasts, they were like, oh, yeah, my first one was FHA, and I went to a bank before, and they told me, oh, no, you couldn't. So I went to another bank, and I'm like, man,
if I only did that.
Done that.
No, that's a great point, just learning point right there, that it's always nice, whether it's a contractor, bank, anything like that, get multiple people, multiple banks, and go to them and ask the same questions just to see if they can do something. They have a product that's different than that one bank that you went to. So that's obviously one of the learning points that you can move forward with, and that's something you'll probably never ever happen again. So no, I think that's great. So you ended up house hacking this. Did you have to do any renovations to it? How did everything play out with that?
Not really. So it was pretty turnkey. I've done a couple little improvements. I still live in the duplex. So just as I've lived here, I've redone the floor, painted kitchen cabinets, just little cosmetic things here and there, just some updating. But overall, it was turnkey when I bought it. So that was pretty nice for me starting out.
Yeah. Can you kind of talk about, first off, the benefits of house hacking and how that's helped you in your journey? Because obviously you've grown, and we're going to talk about your portfolio now, but just talk about right now the benefits of house hacking. Yeah.
So I guess the most obvious benefit for me, even initially starting out knowing nothing, was oh, well, my mortgage is paid for. So I don't have to worry every month about my mortgage. My tenant's money goes straight into that, bank account, and then my mortgage is just paid for every single month. Don't even have to worry about it. Some of the other benefits are the tax benefits. You can get a lot of deductions taken off, which I've been struggling with this year a little bit, but there are tax benefits with that as well. And then just the way you can scale so much quicker, by house hacking. I think it makes it so much easier to go from one unit to, another eventually. And I haven't done that quite yet, but I'm hoping to. So I just know that, it'll be easy once I move out and start another house hack. I've already had all this saved up from this one that I would be originally paying for, mortgage and bills and all that. So
yeah. And the second thing I was going to ask is just, first I was going to ask how fast after you got into that house hack did you get your next rental property? Which, a lot of people don't understand that when you house hack, if your mortgage is getting taken care of, that means that basically that mortgage that you usually would pay just goes straight into your account, and you can just save that up, which exponentially, grows the faster you can get into that next property. So how long did it take after your first property did you get your second?
I think it was 9 months.
9 months.
So it was 9 months. Yeah. And it was pretty much exactly like what I would have saved so that worked out perfectly. It was exactly what I would have saved if I hadn't been paying the mortgage. So I was able to use all that money because I just put that all away, put it towards a down payment on another one, which ended up being about $10,000 down, I think.
Yeah. And that maybe would have took you 18 months or 2 years if you had house hacked, save on your mortgage, and just was able to save all of that. So you said
exactly.
So you said that you are a nurse, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So with being a nurse, is that like you're a couple days on, couple days off?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So I work 3 days a week, typically 3/12s.
Okay. So has that helped you, spend more time on building your business?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so nice to just get, a lot of people think like, 12-hour shifts, but it's nice that those days, all I do is nursing. And then the days off, I can do whatever I want. I don't have to take it home with me, nothing like that. So I usually spend those days off renovating or, fixing things up, looking for deals. And then, hanging out on Instagram has been awesome too, meeting so many people. So
yeah, exactly. That's how we met. I'm sure you're able to, make all of your posts and then just schedule them so that, when you are doing those 12-hour shifts, those are automatically coming on. So great way to build your business and network. So why don't we talk about just where are you at right now as a whole in your real estate investment, all your properties?
So we have, between me and my boyfriend, we have 3 duplexes and then 1 single family home.
Okay. 3 duplexes, 1 single family, you said?
Yes, 1 single family.
Okay. And do you just target first off, what's kind of your method? What are you trying to, your goal and your strategy as far as investing? And then is it all long-term tenants?
So our strategy is buy and hold for the most part. We do mostly long-term tenants, but I recently renovated a bottom unit in one of my duplexes, and we're using that as a midterm rental right now.
Okay. Why don't you tell people what a midterm rental is and the benefits of that over a long term?
Yeah. So midterm is typically a minimum of 30 days. A lot of traveling professionals use that type of midterm rentals. Something I've found in my area too is students a lot of times doing field work or internships, things like that, have contacted me about it too. So 30 days usually, but sometimes up to 3 months.
Okay. And what are the benefits of that?
So it's a higher rent. You can charge a little bit more whenever it's a shorter stay. Also, you do furnish the place, so it's a little bit more money up front, but the benefits have been great. I've had a travel nurse in mine for about 2 months now, and she's taken amazing care of it. You can trust that everything's being taken care of, and it's a little bit less wear and tear than a short-term rental, in my opinion. Because you just have one person in there instead of, maybe 5, 6, 7 per month. So that's been nice too. And
you would take care of the, electric and, utilities. Do you provide TV services?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I provide Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm.
Wi-Fi. Okay, perfect. So you kind of streaming services and all that too? Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's basically they walk in the door and it's a place they can stay. They don't really have to take care of anything. It's one lump sum to you every single month.
Yes. Yeah.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah, so that's been nice.
And do you target areas, that are traveling nurses around hospitals? Is that how you kind of look at buying these?
Yeah, so I'll look at how close it is to all the hospitals in the area. Now, I've only done 1 deal so far, but as I've looked at more houses and taken that into consideration, how far is it from all the hospitals? Who is going to be looking at which site? So that's been good too.
How do you know how much you can rent it out for?
I try to look at all the other midterms in the area, which granted, there's not a lot in my area, but I look closer to Pittsburgh, Erie, and see, what they're charging. And it's significantly more than like rent would be in my area, for example, for a
Gotcha.
long term. So,
And that's why it's beneficial to maybe, throw a couple of those in there because you cash flow a little bit more.
yes, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. For example, so the duplex that I have right now, there is a long term tenant in the upper unit of the duplex, and they're only paying $550 a month. But the bottom, I'm renting it out for, I want to say it's 1,200 right now, 1,200 a month.
Wow. And that's like an
Yeah.
identical unit to the one getting 500.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Is there only one person in there?
There is only one person in there right
Wow.
now. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So does it typically is it typically a one person would stay there, or can you rent out by room? What are there other strategies to it?
So you can definitely do it by room. My duplex, the one upstairs is a 2-bedroom, which I plan on doing a midterm when the long-term tenants move out. So that one's a 2-bedroom. You can rent it out by room. And I would probably charge a little bit more if there were like 2 nurses staying or, 2 different students or something. But, right now the bottom one's only a 1-bed, 1-bath.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha. So it's
yeah.
perfect for the one person.
Yes.
Yeah, with these short-term rentals, these midterm rentals,
Yeah.
I mean, you said the wear and tear is better. How do you market them to get people in there?
So I do have mine listed on Airbnb, and then I also have it on Furnished Finder.
Okay.
I know Sarah Weaver was talking
Yeah.
about it too, but Furnished Finder is just awesome. I love it.
Okay, so you it's basically just like a VRBO or something like that, but for midterm rentals.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of like travel nurses. That's where I heard about it because that's what I do right now is traveling. So that's what a lot of travel nurses use as well.
Got you. And the Furnished Finder, does it tell you as well, like what is that where you find the local rents?
Yeah, so you can look up in your area, see how many people have searched that certain area and get a good idea for how much you could probably charge for rent too. And so it's free. So you can look up, your area, you can look up how many people have searched it, and it's all free analytics, which is really nice.
Great. Well, that's a midterm rentals. I definitely want to look into, and I think that could definitely help someone look into it as well if they haven't heard about it, especially those that are listening right now. But so from 2020 to now, which is 2 short years, you have been able to get 3 duplexes in a single family with your boyfriend. That's really impressive. What do you think helped you along your way to get to that point?
So a lot of education, like I was talking about, just the podcasts are very inspiring, and I love listening to your podcast too. And just all the people starting out is my favorite thing. That's what helped me get started. I think a lot of support from my friends and family too. At first they were really skeptical, oh, are you sure you want to rent out? Haven't you heard that story of somebody who, you get called in the middle of the night and, you can't evict people and all this stuff. But I think a lot of them have come around and they've seen I do enjoy it, and I am having a good time and it's working out. So a lot of support. And then honestly, the Instagram community has been amazing. I got to go to a retreat with a bunch of girls that I met on there as well, which was just incredible, meeting people that have done so much more than you, but they have a lot of practical good tips, and it was like an in-person, Bigger Pockets podcast, I felt like. So it's just awesome.
No, that's amazing. And a lot of people say that if you want to grow, as fast as you can, surround yourself with people that are 5 steps ahead of you. And when you get to that point, surround yourself with 5 steps, people 5 steps ahead of you at that point. So I think that's great. What was that retreat called?
So it was the Wire retreat. It's Amelia and Grace on Instagram. They hosted it for the Wire Women's retreat, and I got to go to that. I think it was February.
Okay.
And yeah, that was a huge motivation booster. I think right now the market's got everybody a little down, but it was so inspiring to go there and see all these people and realize, you don't all have to invest in real estate the same way, but there is a way for everybody to invest in real estate. And there's just so many different options. If you don't want to own houses, you can provide the money for it. You can provide your finances, but a lot of people just a lot of people talking about how they've made it work, and a lot of them do it full time now. So it was just awesome to hear.
No, I love that. There's so many options, like you said, in real estate investing. There's so many asset classes.
Yeah.
And, exactly, if you want to be passive, you can just be a private money lender, or you can invest in people that are doing bigger deals. So there's always, there's always a place for you, no matter what you want to do. And I think it's all about just taking that first step and figuring out what you like. It's going to be a trial and error, but once you actually take that step and start doing it, then you have more clarity as far as, I want to pursue this, or I want to do multifamily, whatever, storage units, whatever you want to do. So, so you would,
exactly.
I know you're speaking highly of it, but so you would recommend retreats and, building a business kind of off of Instagram, building your network off social media, because I've met a ton of people, great people off social media, and many of these guests that I connect with, like yourself, on Instagram. So first off, social media, has that played in your business? And then you would recommend retreats?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Because at first I was a little I'm very skeptical. So I was like, I hope these people are real. I've never met any of them in real life. There was 15 girls, I think, that ended up going, but it was just incredible. Everybody was who they said they were. Everybody was so real, relatable, just awesome. I got along with everybody. I would recommend it too, because I think it can be very isolating, in real estate investing. I know, like you said before, and I've felt this, not a lot of people, are into it. Nobody really wants to talk about it. So it was so nice to just have, I think it was 2.5 days of nonstop real estate talk.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Which for people like us is amazing. We love it. We love real estate, and we're obsessed with it. And I'm glad you said that, because one of the reasons that I actually started this podcast is because a lot of people, majority of people, I know one close person that actually invests in real estate in my area. Yeah. So, it's great to talk to him and, throw ideas off of him, but it's at some point, it is isolating. And, when you try to, talk people into it, and, they just have that, they just don't want to. Their mindset isn't on, investing in finances and all that, especially, how young we are. So, it is awesome to, talk to many people in this field that are absolutely amazing, crushing it, like yourself and like these guests that I have on. And you're right. It's just so great to be able to talk to people, share your experiences, and honestly learn as much as possible.
Oh, yeah.
Which
absolutely.
I think is huge. So, why don't we go into, do you have a deal maybe that we can kind of go through and digest?
Sure. Yeah, we can talk about the duplex I do the midterm.
Perfect. Sweet.
I feel like that's the most interesting.
Sweet. Okay. So how did you find this deal?
So I found the deal on Facebook Marketplace. Wow. Actually, she had it listed there for a couple months. Yeah, and just nobody had bid, I guess. That's
so cool, because I hear a lot of people look on Craigslist. They find deals on Craigslist, these random sites, and then Facebook Marketplace. You just go and find it. That's awesome. Okay, so what was the price? Did you negotiate at all?
So the price, she had it listed, I think, for $130. And I started messaging her, and she's like, well, I'd probably come down to 120. And I was like, okay, all right, 120. And I was like, well, would you be open to seller financing? 120. And then she didn't respond for a minute. So I went again, I'm like, with a good down payment. and she was like, yeah, I'd be interested in talking about seller financing. So I was like, okay, guess I better go learn about seller financing real quick, so I can have my offer already. So I went and did a bunch of research real quick and just found the basics about seller financing, tried to put together a little offer for her. And she took me to the house and showed me everything. And she was like, yeah, she's like, I'd be open to seller financing. This is our last house in our portfolio. We're just retiring, ready to get out of it. So yeah, let's, I want to help you get started. She's like, you remind me of myself when I was your age. And so it was great to just talk and connect. And I think, personal connection was one of the things I think that was really key in that deal because she's like, oh yeah.
Yep. No, I
So
can definitely attest to, when you actually go out and meet someone, build rapport, and, are very personal with them. I
yeah,
recently, my wife and I bought a duplex where we did the same thing. We went out, met them, and we were able
really.
to do seller financing too. So
Oh, that's
I feel like
awesome.
you get better terms when you actually talk and direct with the seller, and, you kind of
Yeah,
find out and not try to screw them over, but just find out a way to help
yeah,
them, and, what way you can help them the best. And if seller financing's it, then, that's how you do it. What
yeah,
so can you
absolutely.
explain real quick so people understand what is seller financing, and what were the terms that you kind of had play in this deal?
Yeah, so seller financing is basically just going around using a bank for financing your property. Um, where they just carry the note essentially, and you can make that for however many years you want the agreement. Um, and in this case, what we did, which again looking back, there's so many things I wish I would have done differently, but I did give her a substantial down payment, which was part of her term. She wanted a down payment. So I gave her $20,000 for a down payment. And the deal that we worked out was 3.75% over 5 years. And we did it on a 15-year schedule. And at the end of 5 years, I have to find traditional financing.
Yeah.
So you can play that, you can do whatever you want though for seller financing. You can say, $0 down. In this case, I don't think she would have gone for it. I do wish I would have negotiated a little less down initially, just to hang on to that capital, but it ended up working out okay. And it's been great in that sense. The way that I did it was I went to a lawyer who she actually used as well, and I had them look over everything, and they wrote up a agreement and had the sellers, look over it with their attorney and everything. So it ended up working out pretty well
Great. So
in that
yeah,
way.
yeah. So you put down roughly $20,000, and then you financed it, and you
Yes.
had a balloon payment at 5 years, which basically meant that at 5 years you just had to find traditional financing or commercial financing, and that would pay her
Yeah.
back the rest of what's due.
Yes.
And you know what? There's so many different ways you can attack seller financing with. Like you said, you could do, use
Yeah.
0% down. You could do, smaller down
Yeah.
payment. Or if you go to a commercial bank, you can have them finance the down payment. So, you get 75% from the commercial lender, and then you go to the seller and say, hey, will you finance 25%, and you'll get the rest of your money at signing, which we
Yeah.
recently did.
Yeah.
So there's so many ways. Yeah.
Really? Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
so
Okay.
there's so many ways to go about it, but I truly honestly believe that building rapport and building relationships is the best way to get those amazing deals, and
Yeah,
just
I
knowing
agree.
that you're serious. I'm sure that your house hack, did that help as well? Just saying that, hey, I'm an investor as well. Did that kind of maybe put her at ease a little bit?
I think
Yeah.
so, yeah. Because I think, I told her a little bit about my story and just how, that's what we're trying to do. And I think that she related to that and just was like, oh, I remember I bought this house 20 years ago. And that's what I was trying to do whenever I started out. And, now she's super successful and just sold all her
Yeah.
properties. But, yeah, so I think that definitely helps.
Good.
Absolutely.
So you purchased this property, right? Day one, you go into it. Was it fully rent? Was it fully occupied with tenants? What did you have to do to get this ready?
So the bottom unit was empty. The top unit still has the same tenants that are in it that are paying like the 550, which I think is a little low. So we're gonna renegotiate, I think. But the bottom unit was completely empty, and that's the one I really wanted to renovate and make into the midterm. So I did spend, I think, about $6,000 renovating the bathroom. I had like the carpets cleaned. I redid the kitchen a little bit. We did the floors. I did that myself, but I hired out the bathroom and stuff. So that ended up working out pretty well. So it did spend a little bit more even than the 20,000 initially, but took about 2 months to get it fully renovated for the midterm.
With you renovating and doing the floors yourself, you obviously save a little bit, which helps here and there,
Yeah.
because you want to keep as much capital as possible. So when hiring
Yeah,
out, was that
absolutely.
your first time kind of working with contractors?
It was not. I actually had a really bad experience working with a
Yeah.
contractor at my single family house, where he just was finding problems that weren't there and then demanding to be paid and not giving me receipts. So I had that taken care of. So I was very cautious going into this and finding a good contractor. I actually had him referred through a friend. So that was really, really
Is there
helpful.
anything you did differently with this one to vet them a little different? Or
Yeah, I looked at some of his previous
okay.
work and like he had done some work for my friend too. So I knew that he was honest and what he was doing was really good quality work. So that was a big thing for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's huge because I mean,
Yeah.
like you said,
Yeah.
everyone has a story. Everyone that's in real estate investing has a story about a contractor. So it's it's
Oh,
frustrating, but it just
it is so
moving forward
frustrating.
now. It's another learning experience that moving forward you just got to vet them a little differently. And I
Yeah.
fell for
Yeah.
that too, and it was a family member with me, so it was even worse. But yeah,
Oh no. Oh my gosh.
yeah. So,
Oh,
but
that's
I know,
awful.
but yeah, but anyways, so you went in there, you've renovated it, right? So what is your
Yep.
currently you haven't done a balloon payment, correct? So you're still on those
No,
terms.
no, not yet.
So
Still in those
what are
terms.
you paying per month for mortgage, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and then also the utilities you pay for? What are you kind of spending each month, and then what's it bringing in?
So I pay her $700 for the mortgage and interest. And then for like all my expenses, I put away about $300. And that includes like Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
taxes, electric. The upstairs tenants do pay half of the bills because it's like a borough bill. So they pay for half of that. And then yeah, so I think my cash flow right now, I don't have the
Yeah.
paper right with me, but I think it comes out to about five to six hundred
That's
dollars
amazing.
with that
That
place right
that
now.
is amazing. And
Yeah,
on a
yeah,
a $20,000
yeah,
investment plus let's say another $26,000 investment, you're making $500,
yeah,
so $6,000 a year. I mean, that's amazing.
yeah,
That is really good. Within
yeah,
5 years, you should get all your money back. And I think it's important to note as
yeah,
well that first off, you have higher expenses because you have a midterm rental. So you do have to pay a little bit more just
yes,
because the Wi-Fi and like all those things add up. But once this top
right,
tenant moves out, and let's say you do another midterm or you raise it to market rent, you're going to
yeah.
make even more money.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like I just saw so much room to grow in this property as well, and I think the landlords before just really weren't. They just weren't even interested in renovating. They weren't interested in raising the rent. They were just happy the way it was. Everything was paid off, so it wasn't a big deal to them. But for me, it's like I see all this potential, and that was a big thing. I'm really happy with the cash flow I'm getting, but I know it's going to be even better,
Yeah,
eventually.
you
So
said that top unit was a 2 bedroom, 1 bath, correct? So what's
yes,
market
yeah.
rent for that? And then if you did decide to turn into a midterm rental, what could you potentially rent that for?
I would say market rent around here right now for that is about 750 to 850 for a 2 bed, 1 bath. And then yeah, for a midterm rental, it'd probably be about the same. I'd say maybe like 1300.
1300. Wow. So when does
Yeah,
that tenant come up for renewal?
next
Next year.
year. So it'll be next January.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, that's great because, next January, I mean, obviously, giving them the option to stay just at market rent, just because it's fair. You're keeping up the property. You're paying for a lot of things to update the property. So market rent, that's going to raise
Yes.
it at about $200 right there. But if you end up doing a
Yeah.
midterm rental
Yeah.
and you're getting about 1,300, then that's going to raise it about $800. So obviously you're going to have a little bit more expenses, but that's going to be closer to like $1,000 cash flow. On a $26,000 investment, and that's
Yeah.
that is a great example right there of how real estate can help you so much. And that cash flow you bring it in, you're living for free already in your house hack. So, that's just adding to it so you can reinvest into your business, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely.
your goal moving forward, what is your goal moving forward?
So my goal moving forward, I would really like to replace my W-2 income. So I want to get to the point where it's completely replaced. I'm making as much in my cash flow as I am in my job as a nurse. And then from there, I really think I would like to work part-time as a nurse for a while. A couple of different things, I want to do. I'm not sure I'd want to leave completely right away, but, just cut back on, how much I'm working, and from there, just be able to be free and have time to do, whatever I want. So that's right now what I'm working towards.
No, and I think, with your progress already, I mean, having 10 units essentially with your boyfriend, in just 2 short years. I mean, in the next 2 years, who knows? You might have 30, because, a lot of people don't understand, but the faster you get your first deal is the faster you get your second, your third, your fourth. And it just keeps, it's like a snowball.
Yeah.
It starts growing and growing and growing as it falls
absolutely.
down the hill. So, are you still going to stick with the buy and hold? Are you going to try to do that midterm rentals?
Yeah, I think the midterm rentals is definitely something that I've been looking into and trying to analyze, whenever different properties come up. Buy and hold is still our strategy, I think, for the most part. It's just the most stable, and honestly, it's the easiest, especially because we know how to do the numbers. We know exactly, what we can rent it for. But I do like midterm. I love the customer service aspect of it. I love furnishing. So that's just kind of more on the side, my sort of hobby, I guess. But we're definitely focusing more on the buy and hold.
So do you manage everything yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what systems do you have in place for that?
So I do use Rent Ready for one of the properties. I use Rent Ready. A lot of people have been telling me I should try Avail. So I think I might try that, but really just Rent Ready. And then I think I have Stessa as well, just to keep track of, expenses, things like that.
Yeah, Stessa was the very first program I used for the first duplex we got. And I liked it. It was user-friendly. So it was very nice. So, with all that being said, how long do you think, how much time is taken up during your week of just working and, having to manage these 10 rentals?
Oh, maybe 2 hours a week, nothing. I mean, for the most part, it's just very autopilot. Every so often something comes up, well, I think 2 weeks ago, my upstairs tenant of one of the duplexes was like, hey, the toilet won't flush anymore. I was like, okay, cool. And I was at work. So I was like, oh, just give me a second. I'm going to run to the bathroom. Went to the back room and just called a plumber. They were able to come out. It took 10 minutes. So honestly, the maintenance for the most part, and luckily I haven't had any major catastrophes, but I'm sure eventually I will, but it's just something that you got to plan for. And right now it doesn't take me that much time to fix little problems.
Yeah. And do you have a list of your contractors that you kind of go to? So
yes, I'm starting to compile.
Got you. No, that's great because I mean specifically, let's say it's a plumbing issue, you have a plumber. Let's say you have an electrical issue, you have a electrician. It's having those people on call that you trust, you've already vetted, you used them before. It may probably put you at ease a little bit more, knowing that I'm gonna call them, they're gonna get it done. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that it's easy for me too. I know some people that invest pretty far away out of state, and otherwise they don't always have that benefit that I do, where it's I invest in my backyard, so to speak. I know I can ask people about this electrician, that person. So that helps too. It just makes it a little easier for me. I know it's definitely possible out of state too, but it's just a little easier for me, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So all your units are right in, where you live, right in your backyard, like you said. Do you have anything against going out of state, or is that something you're going to try to pursue?
No, definitely not. I think I would try to pursue it if I could find great deals. It's just in our market, we've talked about, I mean, there's just the rents are high, but the cost of housing is pretty low. That was something that was really eye-opening, meeting all the other girls at the retreat was my friend lives in the DC market, and, the houses in the DC market are astronomical. I'm I don't even know how I would ever be able to start investing. So I think for me, it's very easy to invest in my backyard, but I totally understand why a lot of people can't do that.
No, 100%. And, just with the interest rates. I mean, I'm a realtor right now. It's the 23rd of March, 2022. I'm a realtor here in Maryland, and rates, are continuing to go up right now. People the inventory is very scarce, and, it's extremely hard to find houses for buyers right now. And everything's selling for so much still. So, you told me right before the show that you actually just bought a property recently, or you're under contract. And, I just want to get your thought on, first off, what do you say to people that say, oh, I'm not going to, invest right now in the market because, the interest rates are too high, or it's about to crash, or whatever. You obviously are buying something. So what would you say to that?
So people have been saying that ever since I started, like even in 2020, we thought things were bad then. People are like, oh, why are you buying a house right now? Like it's crazy. February 2020, it's insane. And then, and then the summer happened. It was like, oh no, now it's insane. So I think no matter what, it's always going to be crazy. It's always going to be bad. But if you can find a deal where the numbers do work, and I think those deals are out there, it just depends on how much time you have, that you're willing to look into it. The property that we have under contract was actually like a referral through one of our tenants told one of their friends that, hey, our landlord actually buys houses. So, if you're selling any, and he was like, oh yeah, actually I have a house. So it was completely like, it wasn't on the market yet. So that ended up working out for us, because I'm sure it would have been gone right away.
Yeah, if it went on the market.
If it had been, but so I think the biggest thing is like letting everybody know that you buy real estate. That was a huge takeaway too from like the wire retreat that I went to. That was a big thing. Everybody said that everyone all your family, all your friends should know you do real estate. And for a while, my Instagram page, I'd kept it kind of separate from like all my friends and family, because I was like, oh, it's kind of like embarrassing, like me doing all these financial reels and stuff like that. But then I was like, why am I hiding that part of my life whenever, somebody might bring me a great deal, somebody might have a contractor they like to use, you never know. So I think it's getting past that.
Yeah. No, that I 100% can relate to, because we had someone on the podcast, Austin Linney, and I was telling him we kind of did like a little therapy session where in middle of the podcast where I was like, look, like, I struggle with caring about, first off, what people think. And with starting this podcast, I also am separated this. So like none of my friends and, family, like no one knows except for my wife that I do this, besides the people I follow on Instagram, which is all real estate related. So he brought up a great point, which, is helping me. And he also told me about a book to read. But he basically said, like, look, no one cares what you're doing. That's something that he had to come out, and no one cares what you're doing. And if they see it, more times than not, they're more worried about themselves than you. So, so if anything, like, they're really not going to care about what you do, and no one cares about you. So go ahead and do what you want. And then he says when you first start, it's like, no one cares. People are going to say, yeah, whatever. When during the process, they're like, oh, cool. Like that's sweet. And once you make it, everyone's reaching out and saying, hey, how'd you do this? So it's like, it's just a constant battle with myself. But at the same time, if you don't put yourself out there, which you're learning firsthand right now as well, that if you don't put yourself out there and tell everyone what you're doing, it's, you may lose a couple deals that could potentially put you in that category where, where your goals align, so that you can go part-time with your job if you wanted.
Yeah, 100%. And it is so hard, to like get past yourself for, whatever you want to say. But whenever you look at a picture with a lot of people in it, you immediately look at yourself if you're in the picture. You're not really looking at other people, and that's the same for people on social media or your family and friends. Like, they might tease you, and I'm sure it's going to happen. They're like, oh, you have that, that little investing page or whatever. But the amount of support I've found, and the amount of, people and even like opportunities too. I've had people be like, hey, I could be a hard money lender if you're interested. I would be interested in investing with you. Like, and a lot of my friends actually, whenever I shared that I had this whole other persona on my Instagram page, they were like, hey, like, I don't want to do real estate, but I would invest with you, and I would, I'd put money down with you on houses if you can find me a good deal. So I'm like, man, like, why didn't I do
Yeah.
this before? This would have been a lot nicer. But yeah, I think that's been a really big thing for me. So again, like going back to your question, I guess, like, what do I say when people are negative and say like, oh, it's not a good time to buy? It's really just about, the deals that you can find, because there are always deals. It's just, who you're talking to. And a big thing is letting everyone know that you
Yeah.
are interested, letting everyone know that you do real
Exactly.
estate.
I
So
love the analogy that you said that when you look at a picture, you always look at you. Yeah, that's so true.
yeah, you're like, oh, I
It's so
hate that picture. You're like, because
yeah,
I look
it's so
bad.
true. It's you're not looking. You're like, oh, everyone
Yeah.
else looks fine, but me, I'm just like, no, that's so true though, and I love that you brought that up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
no, but you've been great today. I absolutely love your story, and seeing your progress so far. I mean, you've grown so fast, and I do not doubt you in the next year or so getting up to 30 whatever units, and I'm excited to see you see you grow, and your Instagram page is amazing. So why don't you just go ahead and tell everyone where they can find you?
Thanks. So on Instagram at that scrappy investor, that's pretty much all the social medias I have for that right now. I think I might be on Facebook too. I don't really
Got you.
check
So
that,
for best place is Instagram,
Yeah.
and it is at that scrappy investor. I'll put that in the show notes. A couple questions I want to ask you before we let you go, but the first thing is, what have you had a book that's kind of changed your mindset? I actually had a tweet recently that said that I personally believe that every successful person has a mindset shift. Like at one point, like you go from, how do I get out of this 9 to 5? And then you shift it to, wow, like I need to be on top of my finances. I need to, think about my, think about real estate investing, stocks investing, anything, any assets versus liabilities. Right. And then has there been a book that's kind of helped you change the mindset?
Yeah. So I think before I would have answered, Rich Dad Poor Dad, but actually, I recently just read, my friend Lifts and Thrifts on Instagram. She's an investor as well. She recommended that I read The Go-Giver. And I forget who it's by right now. I'd have to go look, but it's called The Go-Giver. And it was such a mindset shift for me. I just read that last month, and I have a hard time focusing when I'm reading, but this one was nice and short, and it was like I was into it the entire time. And one of the biggest takeaways I had from it was just, whenever you build your business, think about how you're helping other people, and really, really use that as like your motivation, that it's not all like a self-centered type of thing. That was a huge mindset shift for me.
No, great.
For sure.
Just so people, I have personally not heard of that, which I'm going to research. I'm going to go look at the Go-Giver afterwards.
Oh, it's
what,
awesome.
So what is it about? Is it just about building your business and basically, just from going from the Go-Giver, just giving back to people, and that's how you grow? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. About how whenever you are giving out, to other people, whenever you build your brand, your business around what you can give to others, it's that, good things will come back to you. And more so than that, like the relationships you build and just the impact that you make can be so much bigger whenever you involve other people and have their wants and needs and take all that into consideration. So I really loved that relating to real estate.
No, thank you for that recommendation. Sure. I'm definitely going to look into it, and hopefully listeners get some value out of that as well if they haven't read it yet. Last question. So what would you say to an investor that's just taking their first steps and are kind of timid about investing right now, especially in this market? But what would you say to them? Because obviously you heard about investing in real estate, and 3 months later you got a deal. So is it just, you just got to take the first step, or how, what would you suggest?
I think the biggest thing, if you're timid and scared, is that you don't have to buy a gutted house right away and fix it up top to bottom. Like, you don't have to start out doing stuff like that. You can buy a house that's turnkey. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe the numbers aren't perfect, and they probably won't be on your first deal. They definitely weren't on mine, but just starting out is just very, very big, for you. And once you have that first deal, or even invest in that first deal, kind of like I said earlier, you don't have to manage your own properties. You don't have to be a full-time real estate investor. You can invest in somebody else, and somebody else as a investor as well. If they're the ones finding the deals, if they want to manage properties, there's so many different avenues you can take in real estate investing.
So true. Well, Hannah, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I appreciate it so much, and I can't wait to see you crush your goals and just dominate this 2022.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.